Did French President Macron deploy army tanks to the streets of France to tackle the Yellow Vest protests? No, that's not true. He did order the deployment of army troops alongside regular security forces of the Gendarmerie, but no tanks were deployed. The rumor seems to have originated with a single journalist that seemed to have some difficulty with the difference between a tank and an armored personnel carrier and between the French army and the French Gendarmerie. The story originated from an article published on March 23, 2019 by Express titled, "Yellow Vest Chaos, Desperate Emmanuel Macron Deploys Army Tanks in Terrifying Scenes," which opened, quote, "Yellow Vest protesters are facing a terrifying military crackdown after Emmanuel Macron deployed huge black tanks to the streets of Toulouse." End quote. Users on social media only saw this title, description and thumbnail. Quote, "Yellow Vest Chaos, Desperate Emmanuel Macron Deploys Army Tanks in Terrifying Scenes." Yellow Vest protesters are facing a terrifying military crackdown after Emmanuel Macron deployed huge black tanks to the streets of Toulouse. End quote. A tank is a military combat vehicle that is heavily armed, usually with a big main gun and several smaller machine guns, covered with thick armor and moving on tracks. The basis for the report appears to be a single tweet. Quote, "A French journalist tweeted a picture of the tanks with the caption, 'Protesters are pushed back to the Canal du Midi,' end quote. This appears to be the tweet in question. Quote, "Centerville bouclée. Les manifestants sont reposés vers le Canal du Midi #pic.twitter.com/yashvidipap. Fabrice Valery @FabValery, March 23, 2019." End quote. Translation: Town center surrounded. Protesters driven back to the Canal du Midi. The image clearly does not show tanks but armored personnel carriers on wheels, not tracks. It looks like they are of the type VXB 170 VBRG. Quote, "VXB 170 VBRG Berlit véhicule blindé à roues de gendarmerie, véhicules et blindés à roues France Armée France équipement et blindés de l'armée française." VXB 170 VBRG véhicule blindé à roues fiche technique pictures vidéo Berlit Gendarmerie Française France Industrie de Défense. End quote. These vehicles mainly serve as troop transports and are used both by the Army in limited numbers and by the Gendarmerie Nationale. Quote, "National Gendarmerie, Wikipedia." The National Gendarmerie French, Gendarmerie Nationale d'Armée Nationale is one of two national police forces of France, along with the National Police. It is a branch of the French armed forces placed under the jurisdiction of the Ministry of the Interior with additional duties to the Ministry of Defense. End quote. The blue color of the vehicles indicates they are operated by the Gendarmerie. Here is a picture of a training exercise that shows them from a different angle. And even if they were operated by the Army, they are not tanks. We wrote about express.co.uk before. Here are our most recent articles that mention the site. Fake news: President Macron did not knowingly grant ISIS chief political asylum in France. Fake news: man did not get arm bitten off by pet shark he raised in his bathtub. Today's most popular April Fool's hoaxes. Hoax alert: British newspapers report ISIS guns down children in video as false.